Hello, my name's Rob Lowry. Hopefully you've already caught the IBM Build success story, the partnership between IBM and Flexera with Flexera One and Turbonomic. We're now going to do a demo of the solution. So right now you can see the Flexera One homepage. One of the key aspects of Flexera One is managing your IT asset licenses. So if we go into all licenses, you'll see what applications you have licensed in the estate. And so today we're going to be doing a demo for some Microsoft Windows Server licenses. So for example, if I open up one of those licenses, and you'll see that you've got a consumption of, in this case, 128, and you can actually have a look and see your estate, and the cluster structure with the VM hosts and the virtual machines. And so what we're going to cut over to in Turbonomic is how it makes use of this data to make workload migration decisions. So I'm going to hand over to Oved, and he's going to start showing you on the Turbonomic side how it connects to Flexera One and uses those solutions.
All right, Rob, so that's great. You know I run some SQL in here. You know I run some Windows in here, but I don't until now. So when we look at Turbonomic, what you can see here is a living, breathing map of your environment from the applications all the way through the resources. So up here, I can get information from application performance monitoring tools like Instana, Java, containers, OpenShift, Kubernetes, then the virtual machines themselves and the platforms they're running on, the physical machines, whether they're on-premise or in the cloud. And so I can see how things are connected. I can see how things are performing. I can see the application. I can see the response time. I even know the things that I should do to my applications. Should I make things bigger? Should I make things smaller? And I can see the impact of any actions I take on these resources. In fact, you just saw me pull out an application in a split second and understand its entire supply chain all the way down to the virtual machine. And I can do it on any platform. The question is, so I'm very good at knowing all the things that I should do to assure performance, but how do I do that in the context of compliance? I mean, look at this. Across all my platforms, how should I resize my virtual machines? Some should be bigger, some should be smaller for performance or efficiency. How about where should I place them? Some can move to other hosts to prevent problems. Some are already experiencing congestion. But what if I move the wrong one? What if I move a licensed one? So this is where it all comes together. So when Rob and I were talking before, talked about the simplicity of the integration. So let's take a look at this. How do we do it? Easy, right? I mean, can you get any easier than that? When we say agentless, API-driven, how long did it take to do this, Rob? We did this in like a couple weeks.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, simple. And all you have to do is put your credentials, create your token, and done. And then look at this. Here it is. I've got my Flexera target in here. Why does it matter? Because it's told me a lot about my environment. Well, what did it tell me? See, I got some imported placement policies here. Interesting, right? It's told me which of my hosts are Windows data center hosts. I mean, imagine running Windows data center licenses on licensed hosts. And that's pretty important. Those things are not cheap. And I know you don't want to be out of compliance on those. But let's see what goes into these policies, because why this is so awesome is because the world has shifted up to the workload, up to the application. You know, nobody calls down and says, I've got a problem with licensing on my ESX host. They talk about their Windows, they talk about their applications, they talk about the price to the business. And what these policies automatically create is, here we go. Let's place all my data center, all my SQL servers on my licensed hosts. And what that does is it says these hosts are licensed for these workloads. So I can run any workloads on these hosts, but when my licensed workloads need them, as Flexera has told me, make sure you only move the non-licensed workloads over to other systems. So that's simple, right? Now, when I make performance decisions, I understand licensing. But wait, that's not it. Let's take a look at some other policies, because I know when Rob brought that up, he showed me some stuff about SQL. So let's type in Flexera here. Let's take a look at some specific workload license policies. Like, imagine if you could only keep a certain size of CPUs in your licensed SQL servers. I mean, how many? Well, what if I didn't want to have less than 4 in any one of my systems? What if I had a maximum number of CPUs that I could allocate, or a number of memory? So it's not just about the placement of the workloads, but it's understanding all the constraints that we can manage in the virtual environment. Now, all of this to understand my license entitlement, to understand the constraints to operate, to create these policies, it doesn't take any time. That's what we built with this integration. So now what happens? Come back over here. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at a licensed cluster. Here we go. What happens? We're able to understand where workloads should be placed for performance while taking into account the constraints. And moving workloads, when Rob talked about the first use cases we tackled this one because all I have to do right here is click the execute button. That's it. All I have to do is create an automation policy that observes all of my license constraints, and we're off to the races. So 45 minutes to get Turbo up and running next to Flexera, 5 minutes to get all those licensing constraints in there, instant understanding of your compliance capabilities, the ability to start clicking buttons immediately to get you to that good state, and then this, actually coming in and choosing an automation policy to keep you there. Simple. Automation. Let's pick it on my VMware cluster that has my licenses. Let's do moves of virtual machines. Let's turn it on to automate it. And there you go. Done. Now we get the best of all three worlds. Assuring performance while maintaining compliance, while doing so at the lowest possible cost. Because if software can keep me in a healthy state, I don't have to overspend on hardware, and I don't have to spend on licenses that I don't need, or hardware for licenses that I don't need. So that's a quick taste of it. Easy to get up and running, easy to connect into all your systems, easy to tie the two systems together. And that's why we chose this use case, because of its incredible value to anybody who owns licenses on systems where workloads are the things that we want to attach to. Thank you very much. I'm going to pause this demo and really enjoyed this conversation with you today, Rob. I hope everybody else enjoyed it.
Thank you, Ovid. It really is so powerful and showing the insights that are available in Flexera One and how they are immediately able to be used within the Turbonomic environment. It's so powerful.